This one was fascinating to me. It's Party Girl was her name. She has one last beer at her funeral. She's remembered as Party Girl, as everybody called her. Had a final drink during the funeral in New Orleans recently. She was 53 years old. She loved a cold beer and occasional scotch. Loved the New Orleans Saints. Spent her time drinking at home and in bars. And so when her daughters planned the funeral, they decided they didn't want a traditional religious type funeral. They actually set up a scene. They had her in a chair with her sunglasses on, holding a beer, a cigarette in the other hand, and it was a dance floor in front of it, and it was a video, a newscast. So I watched it several times. It just kind of creeped me out. I mean, it was like she was sitting in the living room, and her daughters were there dancing in front on the dance floor. Little, what do you call those lights? Those sparkly lights were going.
Disco balls.
Disco.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Disco balls. Yeah. That.
Dan, you could not seem any more irrelevant to the culture.
Yeah.
What do you call them sparkly things that twist around?
They don't call me Party Boy.
A person can now be outdated.
No one has ever called me. Okay, so I'm outdated.
Have you ever seen what they call a Buick?
So in this interview, this newscast, they talked a lot about her homegoing and different people's homegoing without really thinking through where she might actually be going home to. And here's the question. How should a Christian respond to our culture's spiritually generic view of eternity? Because even in funeral, they were taking the spiritual out of it, and they just wanted to make let's pretend like she's at home having a beer. So, A, agree that they had a great life and you hope they're enjoying their new home. B, say nothing, cause no waves, just be glad you're a Christ follower and don't have to worry about eternity. Or C, tell them there really is a heaven and a hell, and home may not be as nice as they think. This is at the funeral, by the way.
Oh, at the funeral.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, I got some bad news for you.
She's looking pretty happy
I
there.
realize someone you know just passed away, but here's the deal. I'm probably gonna sit with in the B camp. I know it probably doesn't sound like the go get 'em Christian attitude, but like it's ears to hear, man. They got ears to hear that right now. They ain't
Probably not
listening to you.
I probably will answer any questions
No,
or
I
respond to any commentary in an honest fashion. Hey, they're in a better place.
Yeah, if they said, hey Ben, don't you think they're in a better place? If they accepted the salvation of Jesus Christ, yeah, yeah. If not,
Was that praying girl
No.
on that? No. It was...
yeah. I mean, and that's probably true for anything, right? Like, if asked directly, we're going to give an honest answer. But I think Mike's kind of right there. Like, it's a tough moment, ears to hear moment.
Yeah.
That they're what you don't say.
sometimes I feel the same way about this is gonna sound bad again, but churches and their bar ministry. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, we gotta go meet the sinners right where they're at, in the midst of their sinful behavior. You know what I'm saying? Now's the time. And I'm not saying that it's not ever the time. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a certain brand of foolishness that thinks that you're gonna roll in there and read a Bible at a bar table, and then people are just gonna come swarming over looking for the gospel. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but sometimes I think some of that is a very huge ears to hear situation where you're not in there to literally be loving on people and show them the love of Jesus Christ. You're in there to show them that you're right and they're not. And if that's the attitude I generally see in outreach like that, and that is not effective. That is not the love of Christ. That is, I've got something figured out. You're messed up. Check this out. And so I'm not saying that, like I said, I'm sure that it has people have met Christ that way. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I just feel like when you turn it into a pre-programmed, I'm just gonna throw the gospel out, don't care who's or what's going on, the people involved don't matter. Then you're not really preaching the gospel. You're just saying a bunch of words together.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a scriptural example of Jesus walking down the streets going the Lord reigns, get it here. There's he's teaching and people are showing up to listen to it. Yeah.
So have you ever been to a funeral where they actually say that this dude's probably not in heaven?
No, no one hires that guy. You know what I'm saying? No one hires the truth preacher.
I've avoided it in funerals and that I've done. I just don't talk about it. I'll talk about, I will often cleverly say, there's a story. I'm so
very
clever
in this way.
and relative. But I'll go through the story of Lazarus and the beggar, and it goes, they both die, and anyway, basically I would say if he could come back to you, this is what he would tell you. There is a Jesus, there is something, you need to repent. Like was it Lazarus? I'm mixing up in my head right now. It was
The
it
rich
was
man.
Lazarus, the rich
Lazarus,
guy,
the rich
The
man.
rich man.
the rich man
Mhm.
who wanted to come back and warn his relatives, and Abraham's like, no, you have Moses and the prophets.
Right, there's a
And,
chasm. No,
yeah,
you can't cross
exactly.
the chasm.
I was at a funeral once, and the guy they did the funeral, and he talked a lot about hell, a little bit about heaven, and afterwards, like it was some family members of mine said, I just don't feel like this was the appropriate place for it. I said they hired a pastor.
Mhm.
What else do you want him to do? I said there's no legal reason you have to have a pastor at a funeral. If you
Right,
don't
right.
want someone to talk about Jesus, don't hire a pastor. But like, if that's like, if you ask me to do a funeral,
Mhm.
that's what I'm there for.
Yeah.
And so like, and I basically told him that. I said, look, if you die, I'm the closest pastor you know. I will gladly do your funeral, but just know I'm a pastor of the Lord, and that's what I will be speaking about at your funeral. If not, like, have a buddy do it. There's no official rights of like standing over your corpse. Have someone else do that. But like,
yeah.
if you hire a guy that preaches the gospel and he shows up and preaches the gospel, like this moment of I can't believe he's doing that is a little bit disingenuous.
I actually had someone leave during a funeral once.
Really?
Yeah, I was doing some pretty heavy Jesus stuff, and they just got up and left. Like, well,
Yeah, buddy.
yeah, it was awkward. They were right in the middle of the crowd too, and they had to kind of crawl through everybody. It was like 2 people and a child, and I was like, well,
Boy,
I guess they don't like the Jesus stuff.
get your purse, Ethel. We're out of here.
Yeah.
I said, and you, sir, will go to hell. I didn't say that.
Where you going, Bob?
And there was I've only done one. I did like a funeral, and like the people afterwards, I had like a few people come up and said, "Hey, that's you really shared the gospel with this one." And I thought, what funerals are you going to? Who is not doing this? Like we're not holding up our end of the bargain. If we were just like maintaining civil ceremonies. I mean, there's plenty of guys with an online theology degree that you can,
That's right.
if
what
you
did
want
it
some
say? Like,
technicality of
Aaron
overseeing it.
had his eyes open yesterday, and now they're not. Thanks for coming.
We should create a handout for like being able to if you don't want the gospel at your funeral, here's some phrases you can use. Blessed, happier, better place.
They look so good.
Yeah,
It's
like
no, they look dead.
just you could do
They
it
look
as a
so peaceful.
They always say they look so good.
Yeah.
we could
No,
do
they
it
don't.
as a Mad Lib. My grandma looked terrible.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
after my grandma had a stroke and like at her funeral, like she did not look good. And I don't know what kind of like fairy tale people are keeping up. Her soul is not in there. She is not looking great.
Yeah. No.
All right.
All right, here's a question. Would it be more appropriate to have the gospel at the funeral or at a wedding? Because those are usually the 2 events that a pastor gets called out for. Funeral or wedding? would be
Actually, I
more
see that
appropriate.
happen. Actually, I've seen quite a bit of commentary from pastors on that, and like most of them enjoy, like would not enjoy, but like they do funerals, and we're bowing out of weddings. They're just like not doing weddings because people are they're not wanting to hear that at a wedding.
It's interesting
Yeah,
because
people will tell me that like you're talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
when I read Jesus and he's talking about how he comes to give us life and life more abundantly, he's talking about life. So
Yeah.
a funeral would seem like an odd place to do that unless our theology is a little bit bent more around the Jesus offers fire insurance, and if that's the case, then it just sits a little bit differently. But if it's at a time where we're celebrating life, that seems like the time to really
That's the vibe. Yeah.
bring
Yeah.
out Jesus and say, hey, you want life? You want really abundant life?
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you about it.
But you should have stayed single. Said Paul.
Well, yeah,
You're low rent.
yeah.
I see you're burning with passion.
Yeah.
guess that's why we're here
that's why
today.
we're here today. We are gathered here today because John is burning with passion.
So we're gonna keep this service going.
Wait, was that the funeral or was that the wedding?